Hi everybody, I am Ronan. This is Wadsworth, and this is Now Z here. Ronan, you have not released a video in months. I know. I sort of lost the energy for it. It happens sometimes. I'm learning with things like this and, like my music and everything. It's that keeping up the momentum is one of the hardest parts of the entire thing. But anyway, I sort of stopped having ideas for vlogs, and I was getting distracted by political shit, and I was, getting adjusted to all the new the new job and everything, and I'm just sort of rambling on excuses, whatever, you don't care. But I've started getting some new ideas, and I've got a little backlog of topics going, and I have a little bit of breathing time at the moment, so here I am again. I'm going to talk about 3 experiences that have happened to me in the last several months. And there's a point to all of them that sort of ties them together and then shall unfold. The first thing that happened was I had this day. It was a pretty normal work day by most standards. I was at the survival job, I was at the office, just kind of doing my stuff. But I was finding that I had a lot more energy than normal, and also, more notably, I was just sort of speaking my mind. Like, thoughts or opinions would occur to me or come up in reaction to something that I experienced or somebody else did, and I would just say them without taking that 2-second pause, that filter that I usually take, that little break that helps me break down. Is this a thing that I should say? Is what I'm about to say in any way insensitive to anyone in the room? All of those questions and the anxiety and the fear that often keep me from opening my mouth, they just weren't there. And it took really several hours for me to notice the absence for what it was. And what I actually wound up doing was getting onto my phone and looking up what a manic episode feels like. After which I saw the list, and the very first thing on it was feelings of godlike powers. And I was like, no, I don't think I have control over life and the universe. I'm just not filtering myself when I say and do things that I want to do. Which all of a sudden led me to the thought, is this what having a healthy brain feels like? And there were 2 feelings that happened immediately after I had that thought. The first was, oh my god, I can't believe I just experienced a several-hour stretch of not constantly judging myself. My second thought was how sad it was that I experienced that and thought that I was actually having a mental health problem. It's one of those things you don't notice until it's just suddenly different. But that was the first time. The second time, maybe a couple of weeks later, certainly less than a month. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned this in the previous episodes, if it was even going on at the time. I can't remember when I stopped making episodes by now. But I have another side job now at an escape room company. And one night after survival job, I was home, and I was there with my husband John, and we were hanging out, and I got a text. Apparently, I had been scheduled to work that night, but I had not realized this because I had not looked at our scheduling software, and because I hadn't heard about anything, I just assumed I wasn't working that night. And I texted back, I'm so sorry, I have absolutely no excuse, I didn't see the schedule. And then I got about my evening. I mean, I was embarrassed, and I was sincerely apologetic, and as a result of that night, I changed my behavior. I now know if I have even offered those hours as available, I should be checking the schedule. But the fact was that night, there was literally nothing else that I could do about it. So I felt those feelings, and then I got on with my evening. I wasn't wallowing, I wasn't self-flagellating. And again, I kind of went, maybe this is what having a healthy response to making an honest mistake feels like. And third, which is just sort of a cherry on the icing, one night my family flew into town, and we were going to take them out to dinner, and then they were all going to come see the show that I was in at the time. And because the flight schedule was kind of tight, they were just going to fly in, get a rental car and drive, to the restaurant where we were meeting. And, it's flying into O'Hare, so even getting there on time, you're already in good shape. But as John and I were driving to the restaurant, we discovered there was a street fair. Street fairs, Chicago is full of them. And it was just some random street fair. Like, we didn't know this was going to happen, but we knew it would make parking a lot more difficult. And it would make, navigating around more difficult for my folks who are trying to drive in. But in that case, there is literally nothing else to be done except to assess the situation and adjust and make sure you're keeping in touch with people and seeing what their status is. And Cole, I'll be done soon, I promise. Okay. Hi. Would you like to come in? He likes to sit under that chair. Anyway, yeah, in that situation, there is nothing else that can be done except for just dealing with it, which is so much easier said than done when anxiety or depression or other mental health issues are keeping you from just dealing with it. And just those three times together have sort of started to form for me a backbone of experiences that I can draw upon in order to further my mental health. Now that I've had that experience of a lack of anxiety and self-judgment, now that I know what that feels like, it's something I can more easily draw on in the future. And I have been doing work for so long. I've been going to a therapist for at least 5 years, and I do the meditating and the medication and all the gender work that's been helping me along. It took a long time, but it happened. And it's not like I'm better even, but just the fact that it happened. I wanted to talk through it and to put it out there in the world, because even if, and this is the terrible part, there's no way to guarantee that it'll happen or say when or have some formula that you can be, 100% certain about. It's possible. So that's it for me this week. I want to say hello to all the folks who happened to stumble across this channel while I was on, sort of unplanned hiatus and decided to subscribe. And of course, thank you and hello again to everyone who was around before and is still around. I'll be back with something new next week. Check out my link to Patreon in the description below, as well as Ko-fi. And always be changing.